Good morning, everybody. Let's lead with the lead, as they say in journalism. If the early vote numbers stay the way they are, and that's a big if, we'll almost certainly know before Election Day who's going to win the election. We're going to talk a lot about that, the reasons why Democrats might be underperforming, the prospect that they'll recover. But again, make no mistake, if these numbers hold up in the states where we can understand even partially what the data is like, we'll know that Donald Trump's going to be president on Election Day. So we're going to talk about that, but I didn't want to bury that because it's extraordinarily important. And we got to track that day to day. That's more important than the polls right now. It's more important than almost anything because it's giving us insight into a variety of factors that are accounting for a Republican overperformance by various metrics in the early voting in the battleground state.
There you have it. That's political analyst Mark Halperin delivering dire news to the Democrats. Even NBC now has a report that the Kamala campaign is bracing for a cataclysmic collapse of the so-called blue wall. And look at this. Trump has jumped into a double-digit lead among Latinos. Everything, literally everything is breaking Trump's way, and we've got all the very latest. Hey, gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your patriot professor, here to help you stay sane in these insane times. So you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. You do not want to miss a single video where I'm committed to giving you the single best election coverage out there. Before we dive right into things here, gang, I want to give a quick shout out to the sponsor of this video, and that's the makers of Liver Health Formula. If you're one of the 100 million Americans struggling with all the weight gain and loss of energy that comes with a fatty liver, this is an absolutely awesome solution. Liver Health Formula is an all-natural supplement. It contains 12 clinically proven botanicals that help recharge and protect your liver. It's manufactured right here in the USA and approved by independent American doctors. And if you click on that link below right now, you could try Liver Health Formula and receive a free bottle of blood sugar formula when you order today. So don't let a fatty liver keep you sluggish and inactive. You guys know this is personal for me. I lost over 60 pounds, and I could say it was one of the best decisions I ever made. And now it's your turn. Click on that link below or go to getliverhelp.com/Turley and claim your free bonus gift. That's getliverhelp.com/Turley. With 2 weeks to go before the big day, data analyst Seth Keshel, I think, speaks for a lot of us, certainly those of us who are analyzing the predictive data each and every single day. He tweeted out, "I'm forever traumatized by 2020 and the way that election was carried out, but I'm getting a sense here, 14 days out, that we've arrived at the base camp of Harris's public collapse." Seth, more than anyone else, has been hyper-concerned of late, shall we say, hyper-concerned about the Democrats' ability to once again pull off their usual shenanigans and steal this thing on election night. And yet, even he is beginning to see, and he's a numbers guy, as is Mark Halperin, who you saw earlier, they are all seeing the same data, and it's coming from all kinds of different directions, but it's all showing the exact same thing. Kamala looks like she really is in the midst of an epic and total campaign collapse. Everything is breaking Trump's way in such a way that they're not going to be, it's too big to rig. For an aerial view here, take a look at Polymarket. It's the betting site. Now, this will give you the big picture of what's happening in our midst, as it were. Just 4 short weeks ago, Kamala was leading Trump by 5 points in the betting markets. Trump, as of today, has opened up a 30-point lead. That's a 35-point swing in the span of 4 weeks. Okay, that's called a campaign collapse if you're Kamala. So if you felt like over the last 4 weeks there's been this pretty impressive momentum moving in Trump's direction, you're absolutely right. That's certainly what the betting markets are sensing. 2 weeks before this election day, every single state, I am not being hyperbolic, I will say that again, every single state in the union is breaking Trump's way. It does not mean he's going to win every state, but the movement in every single state in the union at this point in the election is moving Trump's way. In California, for example, deep blue California, the Democrat advantage has been eroded by 20 points. In pot-smoking Colorado, the Democrat advantage has dropped by 15 points. Everything is moving in Trump's direction. In North Carolina, at this time in 2020, Democrats had a 19-point early vote lead. 19 points at this point in 2020. As of today, that lead has collapsed to 1. 1. And again, it bears reminding Trump won, different one, W-O-N. Trump won North Carolina in 2020. Even with that 19-point Democrat lead heading into Election Day, Trump won. What do you think he's going to do when that early voting lead has literally evaporated? It's been completely wiped away. Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, they're all off the table for Harris at this point. Check out my first video today, particularly on the latest coming out of Georgia. If early voting in Nevada continues to perform the same way it is, Nevada, a state that no Democrat has lost in 20 years, Harris is about to lose it. Harris is about to lose Nevada. Take a look at The Economist this morning. The British magazine, certainly no friend to Trump, very pro-liberal, very pro-globalist. Look at this. This is their headline from The Economist. Everything is breaking away from Kamala. The polls are all swinging in Trump's direction. The dam is breaking. And so with this big picture here, it's no coincidence that legacy media outlets are reporting that the Kamala campaign is starting to freak out over the fact that their blue wall is cracking. The blue wall being the 3 states of Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania that every single Democrat needs, given the electoral vote situation. Every Democrat presidential candidate needs to win. They need to win all 3 of those states. And so with this seismic shift towards Trump happening, this tectonic shift that's happening all over the country, that is, of course, causing cracks in the blue wall, most particularly in the state of Michigan. Apparently, Kamala's internal numbers are devastating in Michigan. We're talking devastating. Remember, we talked about this in our first video today. You want to check that out. It's not helping that the Arab American vote, the Muslim vote, is turning its back on Kamala. Again, make sure to check out my first video today on that as well. Michigan has the highest Arab American population in the nation, and generally the Democrat wins them by around 70% of the vote. Not this time. So the Harris campaign is openly freaking out over Michigan, and I guess they were under the impression that North Carolina was in play. So the NBC News report said, oh, we're freaking out. We're losing North Carolina. You were never winning North Carolina. You're struggling in Virginia. They'll be lucky at this point if they win Virginia by 3 or 4 points. You're struggling in Virginia. North Carolina always votes to the right of Virginia. What are you talking about? North Carolina has not voted Democrat in a presidential election since Obama in 2008. They'd even rectified that in 2012. They went with Romney. They're not going to be. There is no way they're going to be voting for Kamala Harris. Everything indicates that North Carolina is going to be an absolute Democrat bloodbath. So I don't know what NBC. There's so much. That's why I call them the lying legacy media. They lie so much. Now, again, as Seth Keshel, the data analyst, points out, going back to Michigan, that's legit. They are legitimately flipped out over Michigan. They should be winning Michigan, but they're not. As Keshel points out, if it's true, if they are losing Michigan, by the way, all the voting we have now shows they're losing at the Real Clear Politics aggregate. The averaging out of all the polls in Michigan shows Trump up. I think he's up by 1 or 2 points, actually. If she is losing Michigan, then she will almost absolutely certainly lose Pennsylvania, since Michigan has not voted to the right of Pennsylvania since 1988. And in the Trump era, Michigan votes an average of 53,000 votes to the left of Pennsylvania. So if she's losing Michigan, I mean, Pennsylvania's gone. So that means the blue wall isn't cracking, the blue wall is crumbling. And here is one of the primary reasons why this blue wall is crumbling. Take a look at the latest poll coming from USA Today. I mean, I took a double take. I had to look at this 3-4 times, forget twice, thrice. Trump is running away with it among Latino voters. I literally don't even know what to say. Trump has opened up an 11-point lead among Latino voters nationally. Now, if you're a Democrat, I mean, I'm just going to say this bluntly. If you're a Democrat, you cannot be losing Latinos by double digits without turning states like New Mexico, Minnesota, Virginia, New Hampshire, Maine into swing states. Forget the big seven, as we call them, right? Arizona, Georgia, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina. Forget those. That's the basic seven we're constantly focusing on. If you are losing the Latino vote by that much, along with the hemorrhaging the working class voter, along with hemorrhaging black male voters under the age of 50, along with double-digit losses among men in general and whites in general, I mean, forget the big seven. They're gone. They're the least of your worries. There's no way you have a chance of winning even one of the traditional swing states. They're now off the table. And now you've got a new set of swing states. You see, that's how this works. You've got this tectonic shift now where New Mexico, Virginia, Minnesota, New Hampshire, Maine, speaking of, by the way, I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but there are now reports that the Harris campaign is flipping out over Virginia. Have you seen this? We've been following Virginia very, very closely for the last few weeks since early voting, in-person early voting started. Republicans are crushing it in Virginia. They're far ahead of the early voting totals that marked the same time period in 2021 when Glenn Youngkin went on to win the state. But again, I could have told you that. I could have if I knew this was about the Latino vote. If this poll is even remotely accurate, if you're losing the Latino vote by double digits, if you're losing the working class vote, which we know she is, if you've thinned out your margins with the black vote, particularly black males under the age of 50, you are not going to win states like Virginia, or at least they're in play. You're lucky if you're going to scrape by with 2-3% margins. It's same thing is going to be the case with New Mexico. Same thing with Minnesota. Same thing with New Hampshire. The blue wall is the least of your problems. We have now a whole new set of swing states emerge that make this election look more like 2008 than 2016. This is why Mark Halperin is saying that if current early voting trends continue, we are going to know the winner of this election on election night. The margins are simply going to be too big to rig. The states that are in play are going to be, they're going to be states that should not be in play. Let's put it that way. And you'll notice he only named one name with that possibility, and that's, of course, Donald J. Trump. Everything, literally everything, is moving in Trump's direction.